Al Jazeera's Imtiaz Tiab is live for us in Jerusalem, has been following the Israeli reaction to all of this. And not surprisingly, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu not impressed with this deal, pretty unequivocal in his reaction.
Indeed, very unequivocal, and it really says a lot about how Mr. Netanyahu feels about the deal. The fact that he made a televised statement criticizing this agreement that has been reached by these foreign powers and Iran. Before this announcement, before the deal was even publicly announced. Now, what Mr. Netanyahu said, he said that this deal effectively gives, and I quote, Iran a short path to a nuclear weapon. He also said that it would ensure that Iran receives hundreds of billions of dollars to, and I quote, spread terrorism. And he ended by saying that this was a bad mistake of historical proportions. So Mr. Netanyahu leveling a lot of criticism against this deal, a deal which he has perhaps been the most vocal and public critic about since the talks even began.
And as far as it'll be interesting to see as well how the larger Israeli public reacts to all of this. Obviously, the Israeli Prime Minister has a lot of support in his stance on this deal. But what's been the kind of general reaction from the public to this, and how are they likely to see this?
It's really interesting, Hazem. Iran sort of occupies this very odd space in the Israeli psyche. Obviously, when you have a prime minister like Mr. Netanyahu, who has been a public figure here in Israel for many, many years, has been prime minister now 4 times, and throughout his career, he has consistently reiterated the threat of Iran. And now here we have it, his 4th term as prime minister, non-consecutive, I should add, but, you know, serving this term as prime minister, he is now, despite his criticism, despite the fact that he traveled to the United States, much to the opposition of the White House, to make an address to a joint session of the U.S. Congress, an invitation that he received from House Republicans, specifically to criticize this deal. And yet here we have a deal that has been agreed and is widely seen as a deal that is going to be part of President Obama's lasting foreign policy legacy. What's interesting here in Israel is that opposition politicians are fiercely criticizing Mr. Netanyahu because, according to them, he failed to stop this deal from happening. So he's currently under a lot of pressure. And as we were hearing from my colleague Alan Fisher in Washington, that Mr. Netanyahu and indeed Israel will certainly be calling on their supporters in the United States to put as much pressure as they can on the White House to ensure that this deal doesn't happen. But again, as we've been hearing, it looks all but certain that it will.
Certainly does. Imtiaz Tiab joining us there from Jerusalem. And now we actually have a clip of what the Israeli Prime Minister, a bit of what the Israeli Prime Minister actually said. Here it is.
But our concern, of course, is that the militant Islamic State of Iran is going to receive a sure path to nuclear weapons. Many of the restrictions that were supposed to prevent it from getting there will be lifted. And in addition, Iran will get a jackpot of a cash bonanza of hundreds of billions of dollars, which will enable it to continue to pursue its aggression and terror in the region and in the world. This is a bad mistake of historic proportions.